This is exactly what The Intercept was reporting earlier today in terms of the Pentagon's plan of action. According to The Intercept, there were proposed strikes earlier this afternoon. The proposed strike would involve launching Tomahawk cruise missiles to overwhelm Russian air defense systems used by the Syrian military. The Russian government currently helps maintain the air defense sites and advises the Syrian military. This is according to Matthew Cole of The Intercept. So he was reporting on that earlier today. I think there's another graphic, but he went on to say, according to both military officials that he spoke to, the current proposal would likely result in Russian military deaths and marks a drastic escalation of U.S. force in Syria. One U.S. military official, according to the article I'm reading directly now from The Intercept, one U.S. military official said the decision to allow the strikes, which would kill Russians, signals a significant change in the policy of the Trump administration. So in terms of the sources that Matthew Cole had from the Pentagon, the Tomahawk missile portion is correct. And so far, according to NBC News, there hasn't been any military forces targeted, and they specifically stated there have been no Russian forces targeted. And so the question is this the full extent of this reciprocity, so to speak? Is this the full extent of what Donald Trump is going to do, or is this just the first salvo in a more sustained, a concerted effort to oust Assad? I mean, because we really are talking about two totally different things in that case. We're talking about an actual intervention to remove Assad versus a limited response to an action that the international community has already condemned, had already drawn the red line that Assad stepped over several times, according to Trump, many times. So you have two options. Is this a limited action in which we are responding to an attack by Assad, a chemical attack by Assad, or is this just the first salvo in a complete regime change? Now, what Rex Tillerson suggested in the clip that we played for you was that Assad had to go. And what Nikki Haley, the UN ambassador for the United States, suggested is that even if he has to go, even if this action has to take place unilaterally without the international community, Trump would be willing to do so. So the language that's coming out of the Trump administration is much further reaching and then a limited response. The language coming out of the Trump administration is a complete regime change. And even though everything we talked about prior to this breaking news is academic, I am intensely interested in knowing what evidence or what happened to Donald Trump to change him almost overnight to make a complete about face on interventionism and to go from Assad, we're not really interested in him, he can stay, to Assad has to go. It quite literally could be as simple as this was an attack by Assad, and Donald Trump was presented with evidence that was convincing to him. And because he saw this evidence, he said his opinion has to change. He doesn't strike me as a person who ever changes his mind, but clearly Donald Trump has done a complete 180 on this, and it almost gives him some credibility. This is what actually gave me a headache today, right? The fact that Donald Trump was so vehemently opposed to regime change, and now in the face of this this chemical attack, he's made a complete about face. It's either that he has evidence and he's acting on the intelligence and the evidence that that his administration has gathered and intelligence officials have gathered, and simply that, or, I mean, I guess if you talk to the alt-right community and some others, you know, he's been possessed and taken over by the deep state, like the deep state has gotten him. I